View. Jorge.
10 out of 10.
Matt. Look away! So I'm gonna break out the 40 to 150 here. I'm gonna do the 7 to 14 right now. Do 25 millimeter 1.8. Yeah, this is crazy right here. Woo! We have insurance, right? Yeah, we'll find out. When you're playing it back, it just makes you want to be there, you know? And then we're gonna jump in the water. I think this might be my favorite national park so far. Dude. This is insane. We are running all around the Olympic Peninsula with the OM system, OM 5 Mark II, photographing rainforests, capturing our adventure, and showing just how easy this camera is to use along the way. So let's go. First time at the beach here on the Pacific Northwest coast, kind of getting that rainy, foggy weather as is associated with the area. But you know what? It has its own beauty. It looks so dramatic right now with the fog, so we're gonna kind of lean into that. And let's see what we can capture. I might try and do some long exposures a little bit closer to the water and then incorporate some of the driftwood that goes along this entire beach here. I can see why they filmed Twilight here. When you're photographing water, a fun way to make it even more dreamy, more ethereal, and more dramatic overall is to incorporate a long exposure. Anything between a half a second or even longer. Sometimes you can get away with shorter as well, depending on how fast or how much pressure the water is moving with. And in a scene like this, I'm gonna use the OM 5 Mark II with its live ND, which means I don't even have to screw anything onto the front of the camera. But essentially this works as sunglasses for your camera's lens. But this camera has it built into it, which is great because I don't have to worry about carrying filters around. So I just go into the menu and use this computational photography mode, live ND shooting. I'll turn on ND8 because it's already a pretty dark scene. I don't need extreme ND. And let's see what we can get. Miss me. I tend to like, if I were to print something like this for my home, I tend to like more colorful, a little bit brighter, warmer sort of vibes, just because it warms up the home. But this, it has a really deep, dramatic feel to it that is also beautiful. Not this again. Wow, this is incredible. So something I really like to do is kind of leave auto ISO on as much as possible. And the reason being is the OM 5 Mark II handles high ISO ranges, just handles any kind of ISO range so well that I don't have to worry about it too much. So I can dial in my shutter speed, aperture, maybe go for the sharpest point of the lens, somewhere around f5.6 or f8, and my shutter speed I can go a little bit higher to make sure that I'm always getting a nice and sharp photo. And then the auto ISO kind of just handles that one extra setting, and rest assured it'll be a clean photo. So right now we're getting some really dramatic conditions here on Ruby Beach on the Olympic Peninsula. And you know, in one way you could be a little bit mad that you're not getting this epic sunset, but on the other hand, this is kind of the atmosphere of the place. It tells the full story, and it has its own beauty. Yes, it's a little bit more of like a Twilight, a little bit more of a grungy beauty, but beauty nonetheless. Oh man, getting too old for this. That was awesome. You gotta lean into the dramatic weather. When life offers you a dream so far beyond any of your expectations, it's not reasonable to grieve when it comes to an end. My mother drove me to the airport with the windows rolled down. It was 75 degrees in Phoenix, the sky a perfect cloudless blue. I was wearing my favorite shirt, sleeveless, white eyelet lace. I was wearing it as a farewell gesture. My carry-on item was a parka. In the Olympic Peninsula of northern Washington state, a small town named Forks exists under a near-constant cover of clouds. It rains on the inconsequential town more than any other place in the United States of America. It was from this town and its gloomy, omnipresent shade that my mother escaped with me when I was only a few months old. It was in this town that I'd be compelled to spend a month every summer until I was 14. You ever hug a tree? Tree doesn't hug you back, but you know what? It's sick. All right, so we're in the Hall of Mosses right now, and they've got some big trees here. We're gonna see what kind of photos we can get, and also hoping to see some water features as well. Maybe try out some long exposures using the ELM 5 Mark II. What's really neat is just how easy ELM system has made it to kind of get into more professional photography with the ELM 5 Mark II. It's got a suite of features that make it so much easier. Starting with the dial on top, we've got different modes of photography, whether you want to shoot in program priority or aperture priority, shutter priority, or just go all the way into manual. If you're using program, essentially that's kind of like auto, where it would set all the settings for you, but you can adjust the exposure compensation. That means that you can choose if you want your image darker or brighter. And then for aperture priority, you choose your aperture and the camera will actually set all the rest of the settings for you. Same thing with shutter priority, except you set your shutter speed and the camera will set all of the other settings for you. And then of course there's manual, where you're really taking things up a notch and dialing your settings to your exact liking depending on the scene. And it's not as daunting as it may seem after all. There are also a bunch of tips inside the camera that you can navigate to when out in the field and need a little help. I'm gonna do the 7-14 right now, actually, because I just want the versatility of a zoom. As much as I love a good prime for their detail, sharpness, the zoom's versatility, while also being sharp, just can't be beat. One of my favorite things when taking photos on trails like these is I like capturing leading lines, kind of guiding the viewers through the trail. And so capturing the actual wood parts of the trail and the lines of the trail, kind of leading to these grand trees in the background, it's just a good compositional technique to include into your photos. All right, we just pulled off on the side of the road here because we saw this incredible light kind of leaking through these massive trees here, and it's just canopying the road in a beautiful way. Looks like the light at the end of the tunnel. So we're gonna see if we can capture it. I'm using the 40-150. Using this sort of telephoto helps to make everything a little bit more compressed. This sort of landscape just lends itself to a more portrait orientation because the trees go up and down. It just makes the most sense. So let's see what we can capture. So this is already looking really good, but one of the problems I'm having here is this is a very high dynamic range sort of scene because the sun is a little bit too bright in the background right now and the trees are so much in the shade that it's just slightly too dark. So I'm gonna use the computational photography mode HDR. That'll let me take an exposure of the darker part of the scene and of the brighter part of the scene, and it'll automatically combine all of those together in the camera, so I don't have to do any post-processing work. So right now it's gonna take 4 separate images of this entire scene, blend those together, and let's see what we can get. I think we're at 2,000 feet elevation already. Anyways, so we only got a mile to go to hit the falls. I guess we'll take it from there. Sick, let's do it. One of my favorite things to photograph is light leaking through the trees, and right now the light is so dramatic in this forest, the Solduck rainforest, and it just looks so beautiful. But what I'm trying to do is capture the extreme shadows and the very bright sun leaking through right now. And I want to make sure that I have as much information as possible in my final image. So to have 4 images combined into one, that's 4 times the information essentially. So that's just gonna make our final result even better. And for my settings, I'm shooting around f/5.6 to get the sharpest point of the lens, and also a shutter speed of around 1/30th of a second. So in that same line of thinking with HDR, sometimes photos can look a little too HDR in that it's boosting the shadows a little too much, bringing down the highlights a little too much. And sometimes I think a photo looks really good when you expose for one area of, I guess, one highlight range instead of doing the shadows as well and bringing up the shadows too much. Like your phone, for example, might push up the shadows way too much and it looks a little too processed. So one of the benefits of dialing in your settings yourself means that you can maybe expose just for the highlights and leave those shadows on the darker end, and it just looks way more moody. So one of my favorite photos to capture, especially in a rainforest like this, where the trees are so massive, is getting the tree line looking up, like a POV, as if you were walking through the forest and you took a look up at the sky. So you get this beautiful contrast between the trees and the skyline. And I threw on the 7 to 14 millimeter to really capture the entire scene, and it always ends up looking really beautiful. It is very contrasty right now with just how dark the trees are, so I'm probably gonna take some HDR photos as well. With the 2x crop on the micro four thirds sensor of the OM5 Mark II, that puts my 7 to 14 mil at around 14 to 28 millimeters. So I could still confidently get the entire scene here in frame. So right now I'm using the live ND mode, so I just turned that on. And I'm trying the ND8 and the ND16 to see how long of an exposure I can get of this stream right here. And you've got the moss in there, this beautiful stream, incredible light in the background. With the ND on, I don't have to worry about putting a filter on the camera, and it acts like sunglasses for the camera. I can lower my shutter speed and get silky smooth water. Because it's a computational photography mode, it automatically blends those exposures in, and you get these incredibly smooth water. And with the in-body image stabilization mixed with the computational photography mode, I'm shooting at 2.5 seconds and getting perfect exposures every single time. I'm actually floored right now. Look at this. So let's take a look at what that would look like with it off. Just a ordinary fast exposure. Live ND off, and we'll go to f/5.6, shutter speed 1/30th of a second, and that looks beautiful. I already love that. Shooting at 2.5 seconds shutter speed and longer it's really hard to emphasize just how incredible that is handheld and not using a tripod. Another really fun thing to incorporate with these long exposures that would be just really impossible to do unless you were using a tripod and whatnot with another camera is long exposures using telephoto lenses. So I'm gonna break out the 40 to 150 here, and then we're gonna get a little bit more detailed shots of the stream, of the waterfalls, and it lets you kind of just hone in on some of those areas and provide some really interesting results. All right, we are on Lake Crescent right now and about to go on a massive hike. hoping that all goes well. Thankfully, the OM system is completely lightweight. That, you know, half this bag is honestly kind of empty, but I just wanted the water reservoir to carry up with. And I'm excited. This is gonna be a lot of fun. My colleagues and I, we're gonna have a good time on this hike. Let's get going. We're about 16 to 20 minutes in, already getting pretty sweaty. Like I said, it is a bit hotter than expected. I've got the OM5 Mark II on my shoulder here for quick access. So I just go like that, pull it off. And I got my strap on here as well. My Peak Design clip, throw it back on here. And I'm good to go. In fact, let's keep going. Come on, fellas. Oh my gosh, wow. Dude. This is insane. End of maintained trail. Well, looks like we're gonna be doing a little bit of free soloing. All right, we just made it to the ropes portion. It's looking a little bit more steep than I had initially imagined, so I think we're prepared. Got the compact system, and I'm really grateful for it, especially right now. So let's see, we're gonna take it slow. Let's get going.
How's it looking?
This is incredible. This is so much better than the Hudson River. All right, we just made it to the top. Unfortunately, we're not gonna get the sunset, I guess, that we were hoping for. But you know what? That's kind of all a part of the story here, all a part of the adventure. And it was a lot of fun coming up here. This was really one of my most fun hikes that I've ever had. And look at this view. This can't be beat. So some of the photos I'm trying to take right now, I'm using the scene function. This camera has 22 scene selections that you can choose from landscapes and sunsets. And even if you're photographing portraits, like incorporating some of your friends up here or something like that. And it has different functions for if you want to push certain colors. So if you're photographing the sunset, you can choose to push the yellows and reds and it will make it even more vivid. Or if you're photographing a scene with maybe more blues and greens, it also has an option that'll push the colors on that and make it even more beautiful. So many different options where the camera will help to make your images even better. And I'm using the landscape scene selection that's gonna push some of our blues and greens a bit since we don't have a strong sunset here. Now I'm gonna switch to the panorama mode, and this gives me the frame guides so that I can successfully make a panorama and use OM software after the fact to stitch those together and get the entire landscape in view. Now that we've sufficiently run around the entirety of Olympic National Park, I gotta say, the OM5 Mark II has been so impressive, especially coming up this hike. We were all kind of gasping for air, but I'm so thankful to have had such a lightweight camera system in my bag. It really made all the difference. And I think it's pretty clear that during our time here on the Olympic Peninsula, we didn't get the best of conditions, but you know what? That's all part of the Pacific Northwest allure. And it's really about the adventure along the way. It's not just the photos that we're taking. And I think that we did a good job capturing it throughout our time here. Now that we're done here in Olympic National Park, we're gonna head on over to Mount Rainier with the OM5 Mark II, hoping for some better conditions. Thanks for watching. My name is Matt, and I'll see you next time.